Yo, what is up there, guys? It's Sojalix here, and I am doing something a little bit different than what I normally would do. I am doing some YouTube exclusive content. I want to do some more kind of Lord of the Rings fun style content that's not just directly entitled to games and done on the stream. So to start this off, we're going to do an objective, completely objective, not biased at all, tier list of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit characters. Now, I just want to preface that this is all going to be stuff based around the movies, and there will not be anything that will be done on the books. If you guys want like a book tier list, let me know in the comment below, and we will go ahead and do that. Now, there are some characters I'm already seeing in this tier list, and I'm kind of like, why the heck are you even here? But that's fine. Don't worry about it. So, starting off, we have our ring bearer, Frodo Baggins. Alright. So, Frodo, I mean, obviously, you can't, like, discount Frodo. A lot of people like to hate on Frodo. I can't hate on Frodo, because he does do a lot. You know, without him, there wouldn't be... The quest wouldn't have worked. Like, you had to have him as the ring bearer. And people would even argue, like, oh, well, Sam could have done it. Well, no! Sam had the ring from Shelob's Lair to Cirith Ungol, and he almost succumbed to it. Like, it did not take long. So, Frodo, but I can't give Frodo S tier, because I have a lot of beef with the way he treated Sam in The Return of the King, up until Cirith Ungol. So, I think I have to put Frodo A tier. I'm not going to be rating within the tiers. I think that's just, we're going to be here forever if we have to compare, like, every single character in that way. So, I'm not going to be doing that. Goblin Town Goblins. They're goblins. They're dumb. F tier. There's a lot of these side characters that you're probably just going to be seeing in F tier. I don't feel like going through and rating a bunch of those characters. So, yeah. So now we've got Gollum / Smeagol. So, for those of you guys who wouldn't know this, I was a huge lover of... I didn't love the game when it came out, but I was like ready for the Gollum game. I wanted that game to be so good, and it wasn't, because Gollum is such a complex character. There's so much about him. Now, is he quite an S tier character? I don't know. But there's so much about him that just is so interesting, and he was so close to having a really cool redemption arc, and then I feel like it was something that I gotta give credit to not only Tolkien, but also New Line Cinema and Peter Jackson and all of them for, is not only did they really dive into Gollum and make him a really cool character, but they, like, gave him a possible redemption arc, and then like, pulled back at the last minute, and I love that. So, I think I'm gonna give Gollum an A tier. Gollum's gotta be an A tier character. Alright, so for this next one, we have Bard's son. I mean, he's pretty cool. There's not really too much depth to him, so I can't really rate him low, but I can't really rate him high either. I'm gonna go C tier, maybe even D tier. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go D tier. Next up, we have Grishnak. Entertaining character, does not last long, eventually gets himself beheaded. I would put him in F tier, but because of the little bit that he is on screen, and it is pretty funny. So I'm gonna move him up to D tier, or him up to C tier and D tier. Random Warg, F tier. Random Spider, F tier. Not really too much you're gonna... A lot of these random characters, I'm just gonna kind of throw into F tier. Like, this is just a random ogre. Nothing too interesting about that, so... Any other, like Oliphant, F tier. Stone Giant, F tier. Like, this is all a lot. I don't even... Who the heck is that? Hold on. I don't know who this is supposed to be. I'm not even gonna bother. A lot of these... I'm just gonna take these guys out, actually. And I'm not gonna worry about putting them in. Because that's just kind of goofy. Alright. So, next we've got Shelob. Shelob, freaking creepy as all heck. Super cool character. Love her. D tier. There's nothing more than just her being spooky. So, D tier. Next up, we have Mary. Mary, I love Mary's character arc. He's a lot more of like the aware of what's going on within the movie. But he definitely has this moment where he's just kind of there in and over his head. But then, like, really grows to see the job that he had to do in it. And his character arc is just so strong, especially when he was willing to go and stab the Witch King in the back of the leg. It's just such a cool moment. So, I want to put him in S tier. But I think if I'm going to put Frodo in A tier, I almost feel like I have to put Mary in A tier. Just mainly because Mary did not have, like, that big of a character. Like, this story... I don't know, but the March of the Ents... I mean, ugh. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm probably gonna get a hate for this, but I'm gonna do it. I'm putting Mary S tier. Mary has to be an S tier character. Now, moving on to our next character, Pippin. A lot of people would look at Pippin and think, well, if you're gonna put Mary S tier, you have to put Pippin S tier. I don't think I have to. I mean, I definitely don't have to. I can do whatever the heck I want. I love Pippin. I think he is a fantastic character, has such a good character arc, but, like, he just does not quite reach the same level as Mary does. In fact, he doesn't even really have as much of the same growth as, like, Frodo and Gollum. You know, if I were rating within tiers, I would put Pippin low A tier. But for this particular thing, where I'm not rating within tiers, I have to put Pippin B tier. Because for Pippin, it doesn't click with him until Minas Tirith when he almost dies. Like, that's the moment when he's having that conversation with Gandalf. Like, right before Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli show up. Is when he has that conversation, and when I think Pippin really has his best moment. Either way, I'm sticking with it. Again, I'll probably get hate for it. I don't care. Pippin, he's B tier. Alright. Samwise Gamgee. It's not even a question. S tier. Easy. If I was rating within tiers, he would easily be the highest on the S tier list. Maybe not the highest, but I mean he's an S tier character. I don't need to explain myself on that one. Bilbo Baggins as our next character. I mean, Bilbo, again, I'll probably get hate for this because it's the Hobbit movies, but I gotta put Bilbo up in S tier. The guy has crazy development throughout his entire journey. I mean, it is just unreal. the level that Bilbo develops, and his development, I mean, is what allows Frodo to be who he was. So without Bilbo going through what he did and developing the way that he did, you don't get Frodo. And so with that, Bilbo's got to be an S tier character. Next up, we have Lurtz. Lurtz, super cool character. Such a great use in cinema to make the fight at Amon Hen a little bit more interesting and have sort of like a main enemy than just a horde of orcs to fight. So I love Lurtz, but again, you could have done everything without him, really. So I think I'm gonna have to go C tier. I'll probably get hate for it, but I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this. This tier list is gonna like get me like canceled in the Lord of the Rings community, but it's fine. It's totally fine. I live and stand by everything that I am doing here. Alright, next up we have the Great Goblin. Disgusting dude. Do not like him in the slightest. I mean, he was cool to bring like that singing homage and everything to the story. But overall, not. It's hard. He did his job. I don't think he did it well, but he did his job. We're gonna go D tier. You guys are probably gonna be like, "Oh, Sojalex, you don't have a single character in F tier. You just love everybody, and there ain't..." No, they're gonna be characters in F tier. Do not get me wrong. There are going to be characters in F tier. Alright, next up, we've got Gothmog. Gothmog, cool orc commander. That's really about the best you can give him. Kind of freaky, kind of icky. D tier. See, I'm trying to rate this a lot on depth and character development. And obviously it's hard to do that when you have characters like Gothmog and Grishnak and the Great Goblin. You know, they're not really on screen long enough to develop, but you know, you gotta give them. I wanted to give something. Alright. Next up, we have King Theoden. King Theoden. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Theoden, if I'm being real. I think he has some good developments, but overall, kind of mid. Does not really do much except just kind of be annoying. And then he dies. So, I'm going C tier. That's really, yeah, C tier for Theoden. Again, I'm gonna get canceled for that, but I stand by it. Theoden is a C tier character. Alright, next up, we got Éowyn. Éowyn is one of the queens of this entire franchise. Absolutely legendary. The way that she was willing to go to war despite the gender norms and that women should never fight. You know, she's the only human woman to put a stake in that. Great moment. She has one major crippling factor, and that is, by golly, did she not get rejected well by Aragorn. Like, Aragorn rejects her, and she's just donezo. Up until she goes to fight. And that is what prevents her from being an S tier character. Otherwise, you know, she's basically fantastic either way. But, you know, that is the big thing that prevents her from being an S tier. Because, especially in the movies, it's just weird, her being in love with Aragorn. I'm sure they wanted to present her as an option because Aragorn technically breaks up with Arwen. But Arwen said, no, I'm not going to let that happen. So, yeah. Eowyn's got to go A tier. Faramir, he's a great character. Absolutely love him. Faramir is kind of daunted by the lack of screen time. He doesn't really get too much of a chance to develop, especially since his main time on screen really is in the Two Towers. In Return of the King, he's mostly dead. His Two Towers moments are great. I think it would have been great to see him do more. Obviously, you can't really do that, though, given the story. But because of that, I can't really rate him too high. He has to go B tier. Alright. Moving on to Boromir. Boromir, I know I'm gonna get canceled for this. Are you guys ready for this? Y'all are ready for this, YouTube. You're not. Boromir, S tier character. I'm like rating within tiers without actually rating within tiers, but I'm not gonna like explain the rating within the tiers. Boromir, easily an S tier character. His story is so tragic. So many people hate on Boromir for, oh, he succumbed to the ring, he did this, he's such a jerk. My man's was under so much pressure. You watch the extended edition of Two Towers, and you see that flashback of him and Osgiliath before he goes to Rivendell. Boromir did not want to go to Rivendell. I will stand by that, and the whole time he's there for one purpose, and that is to make his father happy, because Denethor was an emotionally abusive, absolute jerk to both of his kids. And the fact that Boromir, at the very end of his life, literally dies to protect people, when he could have just dipped and gone after Frodo to get the ring. But no, he sacrifices himself to save Merry and Pippin, and basically gives a big suck it to his father. It's just such a great moment. And that is why Boromir is S tier. Especially, you get the whole, I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king. Ooh! That hits you in the feels. Hits you in the feels. Boromir, S tier character. Alright, next up, we've got Bard. Bard, I'm not a big fan of Bard in the movie, to be honest. Like, I understand his motivations and everything, but he really doesn't have much development. He's kind of mid. Like, him killing Smaug is cool. Him helping the people of Lake Town is really cool. He doesn't do much other than that, though. I gotta give him C tier. There's really not development from him. Alright, up next we have Thorne's Company. So they did not, whoever made this tier maker, did not divide all of the dwarves. And because of that, I can't rate it very high. But you also have to remember there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of characters with really strong depth. There's a lot of characters that fall short. So I can't give them, but because it's rating like all of them at once, I can't give them an S tier. And I can't give them A tier. I have to go B tier. That's where I have to go. Yeah, no, I'm sticking with it. Alright, next up we have the Ring Wraiths. They're so cool. Some of the most iconic villains in cinema history. They're great. I love them so much. They're creepy. Inevitably, they have their moments where they die. And their story is tragic. Talked about in the prologue. Then brought back together in Bree. I'm going to rate them as a B tier character. I know, everybody's gonna... I'm gonna get so much hate for this tier list. I'm just ready for it. Alright. Next up on our tier list, we have Arwen. I mean, it's Arwen. What can you say? She's a queen. She's a legend. She's great. Such a good character. Now I have to do this on movies, so I can't talk about her getting robbed from stealing Frodo. But her willingness to not give up hope, despite the fact that she wasn't really able to go with and do much with the Fellowship, but she still held on to hope and her love for Aragorn. I mean, you gotta put Arwen in S tier. That's really what you gotta do. Arwen is straight up S tier character. Great. Absolutely love her.
Welcome to Rivendell.
Alright, up next, we have Dane Ironfoot. Alright, again, I'm probably gonna get canceled for this. He's annoying. I don't like him too much. Like, he shows up and it's cool, but I feel like you get Dane riding in his goat, and it just kind of takes away from, it takes away from the rest of Thorin and company. So, I don't really have much to say that's cool about Dane as a character. Like, Grishnak, Great Goblin, Shelob, Gothmog, all of these guys, I can say something good about. Dane, all I can really say is he had a cool moment. But a cool moment does not make a cool character. F tier. Alright, next up, we've got Thranduil. Thranduil, key character of the story in The Hobbit. He's amazing. No, he's not amazing. He's a prick. But he adds so much more conflict and adds so much depth to the conflict between elves and dwarves. B tier. I know I'm, again, probably going to get hate for it, but without Thranduil, I mean, what's the point of having everything happen in Mirkwood? It just doesn't make sense from a storytelling standpoint, and all of his moments are just so good. So, he's easily a B tier character. Up next, we have Tauriel. Tauriel is the worst character to ever show up in both trilogies. She has so many moments that cinematically are so cool. But the issues I have with Tauriel is the love story, the love triangle between her, Keely, and Legolas. It doesn't work. It's so awkward. A dwarf, like, I'm fine with a dwarf and an elf falling in love, lore-wise, like, I'm fine with that, but the story of The Hobbit is not about dwarves and elves reconciling their friendship. And it's not a dwarf and elf love story. It is a story about reclaiming what you've lost, about friendship. Like, there's so many other parts of the story of The Hobbit that are just so good. And Tauriel just distracts from all of that. I mean, she really does. She distracts from all of it. And I can't get behind her. I don't know, if somebody can convince me otherwise, but Tauriel, I'm sorry. You're an F tier character. Up next, we've got... So we're going to do both of these together. Gandalf the White and Gandalf the Grey. Well, we're going to do them back to back. Gandalf the White, he's powerful, he's really cool, he's really wise. You don't really change too much between Gandalf the White and Gandalf the Grey. And there's not really much character development between the two characters, but there doesn't really need to be. Gandalf is a Maya. He's the mentor. He doesn't really need to change too much. But because there's not really change, that does hurt him on the tier list. But, he's easily a high A character. I gotta give him a pretty high A character. Gotta be great. Alright, up next, we have Bolg. Bolg. Underwhelming. I don't really like Bolg. I think if it was going to be, if I would have done The Hobbit, I would take out Azog and make Bolg the main character, the main antagonist from the orc side. And you could go into depth talking about Azog as a revenge figure, but because Azog was killed and doesn't actually fight in the Battle of the Five Armies, and the Battle of the Five Armies is then led by Bolg, son of Azog. But in the movies, he's just not it. So, I have to go F tier. Same thing with Azog. I don't know if I can go F tier with Azog, though. It just... It's hard for me to rate Azog high. But it's also really hard for me to just rate him as an F tier. But I think because of that, I have to go C. I don't know, that one doesn't feel right. I'm gonna go D tier, but there could definitely be some arguments made to make him a C tier character. Because the moments that he has on screen are cool. The dynamic between him and Thorin is really cool. So I can give him some credit for that. But there's also just a lot of moments where this doesn't... He doesn't do it for me the same way that Smaug does, Alright, up next we've got Thorin. Thorin has some incredible character development. He's amazing. He starts off terrible, becomes amazing, becomes terrible again, and has an incredible ending. Such a roller coaster of a character. I give high props to him. I gotta give him an S tier. He is a definite S tier character. I'm kind of looking at the S tiers and thinking I might need to drop some of them down to A tier, actually. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to drop Thorin and Boromir down to A tier. Because I already know there's going to be a bunch of characters that are going to be in... that you could make an argument if they're an S tier character. I think I'm also going to drop Arwen down to high A. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I have to think about it, but a lot of the A-tier characters, the high A-tier characters, there could be arguments to be made for S-tier. Alright, Gimli. Gimli, again, has one of the greatest character developments across the entire trilogy. He is this very, stern, abrasive dwarf, hates elves, develops one of the best friendships ever, and becomes so much more gentle as the trilogy goes on. I think Gimli, out of all of these characters, Gimli definitely earns a spot in the S tier. He definitely deserves a spot in the S tier. Next, we have Elrond. Elrond, great character. I love him. Not really a lot of development from him. He's very hopeless throughout the entire movie, throughout the entire trilogy. I think I would put Elrond at a high A, at a low A. You could argue that he could possibly be a B tier character, but he's definitely not good enough to be an S tier character. Yeah. Aragorn? I don't need to explain myself. In fact, I would even do that. And I don't need to explain myself. The three trolls, they're funny. That's kind of about all they got. E tier. Beorn, super tragic. Love him. Cool character. E tier. Treebeard, high B. Legolas, he's right up there with Gimli. I mean, he has another similar story, overcoming prejudice, and overall, I mean, he's a great character. Legolas has so much growth in him. Love him so much. Definitely an S tier character. Radagast. I give him a... yeah, low B. I think that's kind of where you gotta go with Radagast. Radagast is definitely a low B character. Up next, we're not doing the Stone Giants, not doing the Uruk-hai. The Balrog. I mean, the Balrog's dope as heck. Probably the coolest short-time villain that you see in The Lord of the Rings. So, I definitely think he's A tier. I would say he's low A tier. Especially for the development that the Balrog gives throughout literally every single character. Going through the mourning of Gandalf and everything is just not possible without the Balrog. So, Balrog, A tier. Saruman. I'm going to try and sort this a little bit. Okay, we are actually coming down to the end. We have Saruman, the Witch King, Smaug, Galadriel, and Sauron. Saruman, he's such a cool character. He's great. Doesn't develop much, but again, he's a very interesting character. I think there's a lot of moments where he really shines. I would definitely say that he is an A tier character. Same thing with the Witch King. I mean, again, one of the coolest villains in the entire trilogy. I have to give big props to him. Not quite as interesting of a character as Saruman, but definitely still belonging in that A tier slot. Smaug? Smaug is a high A tier character. I don't know exactly where, but I definitely have to give him a high A tier. I could go into a lot of conversation about that one, just because he kind of carries the whole conflict of the Hobbit trilogy, even into the Battle of the Five Armies. So I definitely have to give him high. Galadriel, again, I don't need to explain myself for that one. I really don't, and I'm not going to. Alright, last but not least on this tier list, we have Sauron, the main antagonist, revealed at the end of the desolation of Smaug as a necromancer, and then carried through all the way to be destroyed by Frodo. He's your typical bad guy. He just... everything about him is just so well done. Such a great character. You'd be dumb to put him... I mean, you definitely can't put him... like, you would be crazy to put Sauron in anything lower than B tier. But I feel like putting him B tier is kind of a crime. So I gotta go high A. I think out of all of the A tier characters, okay, so I think this is meant to be left as highest. So we're just gonna bear with me for a second because we've put all the characters in their spots. Now, because I've been doing ranking within tier lists, I'm not gonna explain all of the intricacies of it because it is way too much, and I don't want this to be like a 3-hour video. This is already getting on the long side for what I was hoping for. So I'm just going to reorganize this real quick, and then go into a conclusion. Okay. Alright, and there we have it. This is the obviously very objective tier list. I'm just going to throw all these random enemies in the F tier because they don't have any contribution to anything. They're just there to be enemies. This is ranked best from left to right within the tiers. I am not going to be explaining myself on the decisions behind all of these, because that's gonna make this to be way too long of a video. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want more different Lord of the Rings content like this, make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'm trying to be better at uploading some more YouTube exclusive content, and I think something like a tier list was just, it's quick and easy to make, something that I can show off for you guys and show, something fun. So go ahead, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all next time, whether it be here or if you want to watch me. I am a Lord of the Rings speedrunner, as well as a freelance esports shoutcaster, so make sure you guys follow my Twitch channel down below, and I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful rest of your night.